Hey ladies and gentlemen, this is a video over the Age of Exploration and just kind of the beginnings of it, so this is just an introduction. So yeah, with that being said, let's get started. Alright, so we're going to be talking about the Age of Exploration as I just said. So with that, we are going to move on to the first thing, which as you guys should know, is doing your vocab. Alright, so if you have not done this page yet, you should be doing this page. Okay, so do that first. Now, for this unit, we are going to be spending a lot of time answering a bunch of questions. Those questions will include, why did the Europeans start sailing the West in the first place? What instruments did they use to sail west, like what kind of technologies or anything along those lines? What interactions did they have when sailing the West? All right, who did they run into, basically, is what I'm asking there. And then after that, after the first contact with the Americas, because, spoiler alert, the Americas are going to be discovered during this unit, what motives did the Europeans have to keep sailing west? Alright, on top of that, we're going to ask what changed for the Europeans economically and politically. And finally, how did this change societies in this world? Okay, so we're going to be talking about how the age of exploration, the age of European exploration, how that actually changed the world. Okay, so without further ado, we got to answer that first question of like, why did they even start sailing west in the first place? Which actually leads to this actual video. So with that being said, I am going to actually sit here and just click on this and mute myself to play this video.
Constantinople, the eastern capital of the Christian world. Founded by Rome's first Christian emperor, Constantine. At the city's heart, an icon of Christian faith. Hagia Sophia, the largest cathedral of its day. The year is 1453. An epic battle is looming that will shift the balance of power between East and West and change the story of mankind.
Constantinople is going to change the entire picture of the world that we have with the discovery of new continents. The two events are inextricably linked.
Constantinople is under siege by the Ottoman Turks, an Islamic army 70,000 strong. Leading the attack, Sultan Mehmet II. Scholar, warrior, obsessed. Conquering the city has been his dream since the age of 13. Like the Mongol hordes of Genghis Khan, the Turks were once nomads from Central Asia. If Mehmet can take Constantinople, he'll control the key trade routes between East and West, and the city's vast trade in spices.
They want to take Constantinople. It's rich. It's the center of a vast trade of spices and other things flowing into Europe.
One dried berry makes up as much as 2/3 of the spice trade into Europe. Pepper, a spice that changes the story of mankind. 1,000 tons, shipped from southern India every year. The Sultan wants Constantinople as the jewel of a new Islamic empire.
there must only be one empire, one faith, and one sovereignty in the world.
But the city has the greatest defensive walls in Europe. Four miles long. Up to 100 feet high.
Mehmet's big challenge was to bring down the walls of Constantinople. No one had ever defeated the walls of Constantinople.
Now, a devastating new use of weapons. Non-stop artillery bombardment. The key to the future of war.
Artillery becomes the king of battle. And it's proven at Constantinople.
The fate of Constantinople will change lives in every corner of the planet. Mankind's destiny can turn on a single battle. If the walls of Constantinople fall under bombardment by the Turks, the world will never be the same again. 69 cannons. Dedicated teams working in shifts. Cool. Clean. Reload. Fire. Each cannon packed with up to 10 stone balls.
Those people in Constantinople, they had never experienced anything like a cannon bombardment. I have been rocketed. Now, I have been mortared before, and it ain't no fun. You know, you never know, you don't know where it's gonna land.
Pounding the city round the clock for 53 days.
The great cannonballs flew over the walls and crashed through the houses of the city, and then as they struck the ground, the stone shattered and they burst in a shrapnel hail of jagged little splinters that killed and maimed and lacerated for hundreds of yards around.
Defenders rebuild. But Mehmet breaks through. A new era of warfare. Stone walls will no longer protect us.
Constantinople had managed to hold out for a century until my namesake, Mehmet the Conqueror, brought his Turkish tribes and was able to invade Constantinople. And in that one very sleek move, tilted the axis of human history, took an entire part of the planet that had preserved Christianity and made it Islamic.
Christian Constantinople becomes Islamic Istanbul. The great cathedral, Hagia Sophia, becomes the largest mosque in the world. The world's most important trade routes, now in the hands of a new empire hostile to the West, forcing Europeans to search for a new route to the riches of the East.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, so that was a little bit about this first little part of one of the reasons why they actually started sailing west. Okay, so we talked about it already, but the Siege of Constantinople is the event that basically kickstarted this whole idea of sailing westward. Okay, so Mehmed the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire, he ended up taking control of Constantinople, which literally cut off European trade with Asia. If Europeans wanted to go through Constantinople, which is now considered Istanbul because it's Islamic now, they would have to go through the Ottomans, and that required fees, or, you know, even if they really didn't want to, they could say no. Okay, so the Europeans decided that they wanted to try and find another way to get to China to be able to actually do the things that they want to do, which is trade with the Chinese, with all those inventions the Chinese are doing at the moment. So moving on past that, we get a nice map of this. So the red is the Silk Roads, as you guys can see. All right, Constantinople is right here, which is now called Istanbul, and there's Europe. Okay, they're trying to get here. All right, so if they try and go through here, they're going to either hit Egypt, which is also Islamic, or they're going to have to, you know, go through this area to Constantinople, and even then, they're going to have to, you know, talk to the Ottomans. Okay, if Europe tries to go through this like Eurasian area, all right, kind of like where modern day Russia is, they're going to have to really sit there and make their travels like 2 times as long. Okay, so this is not a viable place to go as well to actually get to these Silk Roads. Okay, and get to China as well. So they end up looking at their maps. Now when they look at their maps, they're going to look at a map that kind of looks like this. So I just want you to take this in and look at this map that we see that was actually created in 1942. So you'll notice that the map is not what it looks like today. And so we see Europe obviously right here. All right, Constantinople again right here. They're going to see Africa down here, so they're going to say, hey, maybe we can go down the southern tip of Africa and then go on into our merry way of China. Again, very long, very, very daunting area to say the least. Okay, but what they do realize is that the Earth is a sphere or a globe. It's not a flat Earth, and I'm not even going to argue flat Earthers or whatever. But they're going to say, hey, maybe we can go from Europe, go across this sea that is apparently really, really short, and they can hit China that way. Now, that being said, there's some issues with that because obviously they don't know how long the ocean is or the body of water is. They don't know how long it's going to take. On top of that, they're going to sit there and realize that, like, hey, maybe we'll hit some winds as well, and maybe we'll drift and, you know, hit another area. Okay, so moving on past this leads us to some of the exploration that the Europeans do because of this cutoff of trade and the sailing westward and or sailing down the southern tip of Africa. So with that being said, I'm going to sit here and actually like put this on, and this is going to be a little bit longer of a section. All right, so with that being said, please pay attention to this. It is all very, very important details. So that being said, I'm going to mute myself.
30 years after Constantinople, a ship heads into a storm off the coast of southern Africa on a journey that will open a new era of exploration. In command, Portuguese explorer Bartolomeu Dias. wealthy nobleman, expert seaman, risk taker. Diaz is heading into uncharted waters. Searching for a new route to India, around the southern tip of Africa.
These boats were hard to navigate, and yet people got in ships and sailed across oceans. It's really extraordinary how many of those ships never came back.
Diaz has been using the coast to navigate. But as the storm gets worse, his guide becomes his enemy.
You don't want to be near the shore because you don't want to get driven up on the rocks. You're getting blue water over the deck and things are breaking and, you know, all hell's breaking loose. You're terrified. You are sure this is it. I mean, you're making your peace with God and hoping for the best.
Now, Diaz faces a choice that will determine the future for all of us. Head out into uncharted waters, or risk death on the rocks. Pioneer on a journey that will change the shape of the world. Caught in a storm off the coast of Africa. Searching for a new sea route to the east. Bartolomeo Diaz has two options. Risk death on the rocks, or head out into the Atlantic Ocean and the unknown. Lowers the ship's square sails and puts his faith in an ancient Roman technology that will become the key to a new age of exploration. The triangular lateen sail.
The sail acts like a wing almost. It actually develops lift, much like an airplane's wing. And if you have a strong rudder, able to steer that ship towards the wind, it transmits all that energy into forward motion.
You can at least make a tiny bit of upwind headway. Maybe you can claw your way off those rocks and not wreck and smash and destroy your boat.
Diaz turns his ship and heads into the uncharted waters of the South Atlantic, risking everything if he can't find his way back to shore. Out of sight of land for 13 days. No idea what lies ahead. His maps are useless. Lost at sea. His fate now turns on a powerful force of nature beneath the waves. An ocean gyre, a vast circular current caused by prevailing winds working against the rotation of the Earth, creating a conveyor belt of water 4,000 times more powerful than the Mississippi River.
So if you're sitting becalmed in an ocean gyre, it feels like you're, a painted ship on a painted ocean. Nothing's happening. But what's really going on is you're covering ground, but the whole sea is moving in this arc.
The discovery of ocean gyres will revolutionize seafaring. But Diaz has no idea of the forces that slingshot his ship from an empty ocean toward the southern tip of Africa.
he really had everything going for him. He had the prevailing winds with him, he had the current with him, and he was on a ride that he may not even have fully understood.
Diaz claims the land in the name of God and country. It will become known as the Cape of Good Hope. The key to a new sea route to the east, bypassing Constantinople. A direct passage to India. Within 50 years, it becomes one of the busiest shipping lanes in the world. 44,000 tons of goods shipped around the Cape each year, building new empires, new connections, and a new future. The race to profit from the riches of the East is on. October 12th, 1492. A date seared onto the hard drive of humanity. Spanish sailors discover land, leading them an Italian, Christopher Columbus. Maverick, hustler, with his own dream to find a shortcut to the east. His plan, to sail west to China. He calculates the journey from Spain will take him just 21 days. He underestimates the distance by 7,000 miles.
What was striking about this is that any educated person at the time would know that Columbus was wrong.
Undaunted, convinced he's right, Columbus has been all over Europe, begging for support for his journey. Spanish monarchs, Ferdinand and Isabella, throw some money his way. Barely enough to fund the expedition.
It's kind of the way that a wealthy person might bet $100 on poker, you know, without much expectation, but you could afford it.
After 5 weeks at sea, close to starvation, thousands of miles from his target, he reaches land, which he believes is Japan. In fact, it's the Bahamas, off the coast of a vast new world. The Americas. Two worlds, isolated from each other for 10,000 years.
It's not only a huge event in history, but it's a huge event in the history of life.
The Bahamas are home to the Taino people.
He sees these people, for the most part by European standards, very tall, very healthy, very good looking, you know, living in a state of abundance.
Columbus records their first encounter.
The people kept calling to us and giving thanks to God, as if we'd come from heaven. I presented them with some red caps and beads. They were much delighted and became wonderfully attached to us.
Living in a different ecosystem for thousands of years, the people of the Americas have no immunity to a deadly threat. Disease.
Europeans were sort of swimming in this bacterial and viral soup that was utterly unlike anything over there.
First contact with an invisible killer that will one day change the destiny of the New World. But Columbus is on a search for treasure.
I kept my eyes open and tried to find if there was any gold. Then I saw some of them had a little piece hanging from a hole in their nose. I gathered that by going further, I'd find a king who possessed in great quantities of gold.
Columbus returns to Spain a hero. His journeys open the floodgates.
All right, so when it comes to that, yes, Christopher Columbus and Bartholomew Diaz are the two main ones that we're going to be talking about first. All right, but before we do, we actually need to go talk about technology now. This is where you're going to go to this page when it comes to the technology that is being used, okay? So this is how it's going to work, all right? For the next 3 slides, I'm going to be talking about each of these, all right? You're going to have to find an image for each, and then on top of that, you're going to have to take notes about the significance of each of these. Now, when I tell you this, just don't write down what I write down, okay? I want you to write down what you believe is the significance of each of these, all right? And then at the very end, you're going to actually do this, which is the effects of navigational improvement. Like, what things did it cause to have these? All right, so by having these, the Europeans were able to do certain things. All right, that's where we're going to put that answer right there. So the 3 that we're going to be talking about is what we're going to be calling the Latine sail, the astrolabe, and the magnetic compass. So moving further, we're going to be talking first about the Latine sail. Now I'm talking specifically about the sail, and one thing that you're going to notice about it is that it is a triangular shape. Now the reason why it's a triangular shape is because you are actually able to sail into the winds because you can shift the triangle a certain way to catch that wind to be able to push forward into it. Alright, that's a bunch of physics that I'm not going to get into. Now moving further, they actually got these from the Chinese ships, so we talk a lot about how Europeans took a lot from the Chinese, and I just want to keep emphasizing that point. The fact that the Chinese have all these inventions and then the Europeans are like, hey, let's use them as well. Moving further, they use these on ships called caravels. This is actually a caravel right there. The thing is with the caravel is that it specifically holds cargo, and that's it. Before this time, ships had like a bunch of weaponry on it, on top of a bunch of soldiers. Because they're not at war anymore and they don't have to worry about that, they are actually going to sit there and try and maximize the amount of load that they can carry, alright, amount of cargo that they can carry. Because if you can carry more cargo, then you can sell more stuff and make more money. Moving forward, we have what we call the astrolabe. Now this is actually how it looks, alright, down here. This is someone actually utilizing it. Okay, so this is mainly used for navigational purposes. The way it actually works is that you're there to actually find a location you are in the water using longitude and latitude. So what you're going to do is that you're going to find a star. Mostly the North Star is the one that they find, or just a star in a constellation depending on the year and the month. Okay, they're going to look through this lens to that star, and then they're going to take the angle that they are in the horizon, and by doing this they actually are able to find their longitude and latitude. So it's a great way to actually show where you are, see if you drifted at all like Bartholomew Diaz did, or anything along those lines. All right, so it kind of helps out the sailors a little bit more to be more efficient. All right, moving further, this is actually a European invention. It's not a Chinese invention, just like, you know, the Latin sail was. So this is a little bit about the astrolabe. Moving on to our last invention that really helped us, is a very, very important invention that we've seen before. This is the magnetic compass. Now, it's used for a directional tool, so north, south, east, and west. All right. How did you guys learn the cardinal directions, by the way? Was it never eat slimy worms, or was it never eat soggy waffles? What was it? Comment down below, and I'll see what the answers are. Okay, this was using complementary to the astrolabe, so, you know, they found their location, like, shoot, we have to go north, we have to go south. All right, different things along those lines. All right, this was actually taken from another area of the world, and as we have talked about constantly, it is actually taken from China. All right, so this is actually what a Chinese compass looks like, and they actually do get this from the Chinese, and they ended up taking this design and literally making it for Europeans, so Europeans can actually see it. All right, you guys should all know how a magnetic compass works at this point, but if you don't, it takes the magnetic field of the Earth and it uses that to like actually find north and south. Okay, just as this one does here. So that is that. Now, you have made it to the end of the video. So you guys should have filled out that inventions sheet by now, with all the pictures and notes and the effects part of it. So that is that. Now, that being said, we have made it to the end of the video. So if you guys could, to make sure that you guys actually watch this video, I want you to answer these first two questions. I want you to actually email me this. Okay? So when you email me this, I'm going to ask you two questions. Why did the Europeans start sailing west? And what instruments did they use to actually sail west? All right. If you answer those two questions, you email me, you're going to get about 2 points of extra credit on this assignment. So yeah, that is that. If you have any questions, please let me know, and have a great day. Bye.